It is Qui-Gon Jinn Tuesday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. When there are so many myths surrounding meditation that a lot of people get very, very confused. And sometimes teachers who really do mean well give them advice that just compounds their confusion. I'll give you two examples. Number one, there is this myth that we're not supposed to think at all. And then when we do think, we tend to get really bent out of shape. There's another myth that we're only supposed to think happy thoughts. And when we think about something sad or scary or infuriating, well, then we're unspiritual. And towards either of those situations, a good-hearted but weak-minded teacher will often say, There, take heart. After all, you are not the thinker of your thoughts. For many centuries, teachers have taken pride in being trippy and cryptic, but the Buddha was not trippy and the Buddha was not cryptic, nor was Bodhidharma, who is credited as being the first teacher of Mahamudra or Zen in China. That crept in over time. The problem with being cryptic and trippy is it just compounds. Well, basically happens, you have weak-minded people further confusing other weak-minded people, which reminds me of the old adage, when the blind lead the blind, they both fall over the cliff. So allow me to take a moment to try to clear things up. Let's start with brass tacks. A thought is a thought, whether its object is external or internal, whether it is pleasurable or painful, or interesting or boring, or glorious or grotesque. An unpleasant or a boring thought is not any more of a condemnation than a happy thought or an interesting thought is an exoneration. A thought is just a thought. When we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. This sort of label our experience this. When we breathe in, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we're able to notice things vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. That's fine. That's wonderful. As we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease. As we do so, we could so physically relax that we mentally release that which we noticed during our previous inhalation. But what do we mean by release? Release doesn't mean shove away. Release simply means that we diminish the degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation controls our choices or utterances or deeds. That's it. And so, thanks to our parasympathetic nervous system, we're able to physically relax and mentally release to a certain degree during each exhalation. Now, prepare to have your mind blown. That's no great thing. We're already wired to do those things due to a happy coincidence of evolution. By cooperating with the process through the cunning use of monosyllabic labels, we gently invite our cerebral cortex to stop opposing the process and even begin cooperating with the process. So whatever we experience, whether it is a perception, emotion, intention, thought, memory, or imagining, all of them are simply grist for the mill. Now that we've discussed pragmatically what to do with thoughts, let's try to make sense of the aphorism, we are not the thinker of our thoughts. That was intended to be a shortcut, but it was actually causing people to sprint face first into a brick wall. But here's the shortcut. It was the originator of that aphorism was trying to infer and during your inhalation, when you become aware of your sense of self, who is thinking that thought, that's fine. During your exhalation, when you physically relax, you can mentally release your grasp on your sense of self. And so we're not saying, when we say self, we're not saying brain or body. We're just saying it's just a sense of self. It's nothing you have to believe. The whole idea of selflessness is nothing more than a metaphor of non-graspability. And it goes like this. As we breathe in, we might experience a rather poignant sense of self. That's fine. As we relax into our exhalation, that same sense of self could feel as non-graspable as if it wasn't there. That's it. We're just playing with words. That's it. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to understand it. It's just something that happens. When we breathe in, everything sharpens up. When we breathe out, everything dulls out. And by harmonizing with those processes, we're able to go through life a little bit less neurotically, a little bit more peacefully, a little bit more lovingly. So, we are not the thinker of our thoughts. It's just a shortcut. Then sadly, it's a shortcut that is no longer poignant. For instance, if I make a reference to the Matrix to someone who saw it as an adult in 1999, it might have an impact. But if I reference the movie The Matrix to someone who was born 15 years ago, and who has never seen it, it won't mean anything. So often, the test of an aphorism is not how old it is, but how poignant it is now. So let's tie this up with a big red bow. As we sit in meditation, let's exercise the courage to be vulnerable, to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly whatever comes up. Pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Knowing that who we are as a person, who we are as a meditator, is not determined by what comes up, but what we do with what comes up.